Hello and welcome to another episode of the Leo Alves podcast. And in today's podcast, I have a guest on, a repeat guest. I think the last time Daniel Yores was on was 3 years ago now, maybe about that. It could be about that. So I thought, you know what, it's been long enough now. Let's have a second follow-up episode. So here we are. I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll just go from there.
Thank you for that. It's good to be back on. Time flies. I didn't realize it had been like 3 years. Time flies. It's kind of wild when you really think about it. But yeah, Daniel. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a podcast host myself. Online coaching, help people with fat loss, building muscle, and really just improving their health. And that's kind of the lens that I look at everything through, and just trying to be the best help that I can to everyone. So that's really the quick version intro of me.
Nice. How and I wanted to say congratulations because I know you recently got married, so that's exciting.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, and you as well. Both, close to the same timelines. But yeah, it was really exciting. It was very cliche to say, but it definitely was one of the best days ever. But just an exciting next step in life, and so here we go, a few months on from that now.
Where was the wedding?
In Toronto, where we live.
Okay. And was it like I was because she's you're Greek Italian. I don't know how in touch with that you are, but then I know she's
Very
Asian, so I
much.
was gonna what type of I don't know what type of wedding it might have been.
It was a little bit more. I mean, we included elements of all of our cultures, which is pretty important to us to do that. We're both very much in touch with our heritage, and so yeah, so we included a little bit of all of it, but just based on the amount of my family that's here and the amount of her family that's here, it was probably a little bit more like traditions skewed to to my side. But we're gonna do another reception like closer to where her family is like in a few weeks actually. So that'll be very much the opposite and get everyone in because with family all over the world it's tough with travel and like far travel, right? It's not like a 2 hour road trip. It's like a 16-hour flight. So yeah, so we'll get it all sorted then. But it'll be good. Yeah, the tradition stuff was really important to me and just honoring um that part of our culture and our heritage. It's become more and more important to me, like going through the whole wedding process because that's where and I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but like the
No,
epitome
it's
of a culture
fine.
is kind of like the wedding. All of the traditions, all the stops come out. It's like, oh, we do these things, and all of them are little things and insignificant if you look at them just for what they are, but significant historically. Um, and so it was really cool just to kind of tap back into all that stuff and let it come out through the wedding. So it was really fun.
Nice. And I got married in January 2024. So I've got to ask you the same question that I got asked so many times when I got married after was how does it feel to be married?
Yeah, I've been also asked that every single person who I meet who since the wedding. I don't know. My my default answer has been every day is just the best day ever. It feels yeah, no, it feels great. I mean, we moved in like full time together like a few months before, so it's not like there was and we were kind of like half living together anyways before that, but like it's not like there was a gigantic logistics life change where it's like, okay, all of a sudden, we're both living with our parents, and then all of a sudden we're living with each other right away, which maybe is how it used to be like back in the day, which was definitely a bigger change for people. So on that level, like not a ton of difference, but no, it's great. It's been great. So yeah, really
Mm.
happy with everything.
No, I love that. And that's a lovely answer. And, I didn't answer too dissimilar to you. When people would ask me, it's just like, you know what, it feels the same. Yeah, it feels just the same as before. Like we were in a great place before, we're in a great place now. Um, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, and I guess this is why, many people listen to this podcast, even though I do like go on tangents, many tangents that are non-fitness related, probably a bit more so, I would say in the past year. Uh, I'm gonna assume that nothing's really gonna change. And again, correct me if I'm wrong with like your own nutrition, your own training. Mm,
No, I mean, like things that are actually going to change with my nutrition training, definitely not. I'll say there's been a few. So like the leading up to the wedding, I was like pretty dialed in. You want to look good, and also for what it's worth, like So we got married at the end of January. This is maybe actually a good like segue of real life and fitness kind of stuff. We got married at the end of January. As a trainer, for those listening, like January is kind of like the busiest like business month for us. Like that's where you want to, people are ready to, new year, new me. You're trying to get new clients, you're trying to get your business going. But I'm also in the end stages of like planning the wedding and getting that going. Now, obviously I didn't, not obviously, but I didn't do the bulk of the work, but there's still like my wife did most of the stuff. But I still did, there's a number of things that I had to do that were kind of preoccupying my time. So in order to be, you know, present and able to like make sure I didn't miss anything with the wedding prep and still work effectively or as effectively as I could like in my business, I kind of had to really stay dialed on my nutrition and my training so that I was like operating at the highest level possible that I could get everything done efficiently and do it well. And so if I had like that would be a really easy time where people would start to slack off. Like, oh, I just, I'm tight on time. I can't make it to the gym, or I can't cook. I'll just Uber Eats food or get delivery or takeout or whatever. And so I see how that, that could easily be the shift. But for me, and maybe it's because I'm a trainer and this is my job, but for me, it's like no, this is the time where I need to kind of lock in a little bit more because there are more important things going on, and I can't afford to be feeling sluggish or feeling like crap or feeling not happy about the way that I look or things like this. I can't afford that right now, so I need to be dialed in on the things that I'm doing. Now, after the wedding, there was definitely there was a lot of gatherings and then post wedding gatherings and stuff like that. And so I definitely like took my foot off the gas for like maybe like 2 weeks, kind of like very sparsely worked out. Wasn't really eating or paying attention to anything, and it was kind of like that. You know, this is definitely not a fair comparison, but it's like a post bodybuilding show type thing where it's like, okay, all of this like energy went up to this moment, and then it's like, okay, now I can just like put my feet up and chill. Like there wasn't a lot to do. Kind of like took the week off work, and so did my wife, and we didn't go on our honeymoon right away. We're actually going in a couple weeks. Um, and so there's definitely that bit of a lull period where I was like, all right, we just kick back and relax and finish some of the leftovers from some of the other parties. There were still people in town visiting that we were hosting, and before the wedding, and when you're hosting people, it's like we have stuff to do, so we can't really hang out with them that much. But they were still here, the week or two after, and so then we could take them out, go out for dinner, and take them around Toronto and stuff like that. Um, so there's more of that going on, and so went through a little bit of a lull, and I didn't panic. It was more or less intentional. It wasn't like a free for all. Let me eat McDonald's, 8,000 calories every single day. It was just like, oh, just gonna be a little bit looser here, and take my foot off the gas. But then after that, then it's kind of right back on track. So there was definitely some of that, but like, and I'm not sure that that's what you were getting at with what you were asking me, but as far as my actual training and nutrition strategy, like no, there's nothing really that's going to be significantly different. I mean, maybe there will be some bit of like renewed motivation to like when a child is coming along, but that's really the only thing that I could think about that'll be like, oh, this might change some things. But other than that, no, like pretty much the same.
I think it could be quite interesting to speak about a bit more of what you had touched upon, and it was what I was asking. But I think we could dive deeper into like the build up to what you were doing for the wedding in regard to your nutrition, your training, because I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people do go through something similar at some point in their life, sometimes more than
Hmm.
once.
Hmm.
And I think it could be quite interesting to just to hear like what did a professional do and how did they go about it? Because I'm sure many people kind of think, okay, I need to get in shape for my wedding. I just want to drop an X amount of weight. I'm just not going to eat. That probably happens more than we'd like to think.
Hmm.
But what did the professional do in this case?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying that the difference between what I did and what I went through as far as excuse me, as far as getting ready for my wedding was that I didn't have like I wasn't like I was trying to lose 45 pounds, right? I was just trying to kind of like tighten up. Not that I'm, some Adonis looking, super shredded, whatever, but but I'm pretty happy with the way that I look and the way that my body is, and I kind of want to just tighten things up. And it was more of a feeling rather than like significantly changing the shape and look of my body. Um, but I will say this, even still with that, uh, the most important thing is that you have to
So
start.
your mic seems to, just a quick one, your mic seems to be really like getting super fuzzy.
Oh,
Almost to the point it's getting like so distorted you can't make out what you're saying. That's
interesting.
okay. Like we you can see, we can quickly take a moment and I'll just like edit out like the the next however long it takes. So no rush.
Is it better now?
Yeah, what did you do? That was fast.
No, I didn't do anything.
Yeah, it's
Honestly,
like
there's a
it's
chance
night and
there's a
day
chance that I was too
difference.
close to it and my beard was rubbing against the mic.
Ah, yes. Okay. There we go.
That's possible, or like some
Yeah, yeah,
static in the
yeah.
room or something. But I actually didn't touch anything. My bad. But thank you for pointing that out. Um, so the difference is this: where where I was compared to where I wanted to get to was pretty close, and I think that most people just if by observation alone are not that close, right? People are trying to lose like 30, 40 pounds, which takes some time, and that's why you try and starve yourself, right? I was just trying to kind of like tighten things up a little bit, and so that's that. Um, but either way, the most important thing is you have to start way earlier than you think you do. And it's for two reasons. One, things take a long time, especially the more fat you're trying to lose, the longer that's going to take naturally. And two, for purely just logistical reasons, as a guy, and especially as a girl, even more so as a woman, you're getting a suit made or your dress fitted to you. Well, that dress doesn't get fitted to you like the day before the wedding, or the suit doesn't get fitted to you the day before a wedding. It happens like several months, and for the women, like more time because it just things take. I don't know how it is like in Europe, but in North America, like things take forever. You order your dress like a year in advance, like it's ridiculous. And things have to be sized to you ahead of time. And once it's sized to you, you can't keep changing it. So if you haven't lost the weight 4 months or 5 months before your wedding, and then you want to starve yourself for the month before your wedding, you might lose weight, but then the clothes that you bought still might not fit you because now you've lost 10 or 15 pounds, and your body looks better when you're naked, but you're not going to be naked at your wedding. You're going to be wearing clothes, and so those clothes are still
Hopefully.
not going to be fitted to you. Hopefully, yeah, at the reception, anyways. But so you have to plan further in advance than you think you do, and this is where most people make the mistake. They don't do that, and then the wedding's 6 weeks away, and like, oh my god, I've been so preoccupied with all this stuff. Let me just like not eat carbs and starve myself, and then it kind of works, but it definitely doesn't work for long term, and it doesn't work as significantly as people think they do, and it adds to the stress, and it makes them feel not good, and all this kind of stuff. So the biggest thing is start early. So what I did, because I didn't have like a ton to go, so we got married in January. I got fitted for my tux at the end of September, I think it was. End of September, early October, something like that. And so that for me, that's what, like, okay, well, now that you're fitted and this thing is, being made for you, it's you can't really change your body a ton, right? And so I asked the tailor, I had a conversation with him. I was like, how much can I change my body and this will still fit properly? He's like, oh, you probably have like maybe 5 to 7 pounds to lose, but like if you lost any more than that, like then we would have to take this in certain places, depending on where you lose weight, obviously. Um, so that's something definitely to consider, just to start early. But my approach was not different than my approach ever, and it's just like reduce my calories, increase my training and my movement, and not even my training but just my movement. Like I'll just make a bigger effort to get more steps in throughout the day, use the weighted vest a little bit to just increase that a little bit, increase my cardio. But really it's just about controlling my calories and keeping things a little bit tighter, less cheat meals or free meals, if you will. But yeah, it's not rocket science. I mean, I wish I had some like crazy rocket science diet for you. But Leo, that I'd be lying if I said that I had some like wicked diet that's like, oh, this is the pre-wedding thing. Like, no, just kind of control your calories, increase your activity, make sure you're sleeping, make sure you're taking your vitamins, and all those things, and you'll get where you're going. But again, to end this little rant, start way earlier than you think you do because you don't have as much time as you think you do.
That sounds like everyone's like summer and for
Yeah,
lack of a better word, like body goals, where everyone just like starts way too late. every single year, same mistake. And it's like if you had just started earlier, because it's not gonna, it's like it takes longer than you think, but I would say more so from the aspect of life just happens and you have to take that into account. For example, I was in like a slight calorie surplus for a while last year for like a
Hmm.
good few months, which I was doing intentionally, and just help fuel my workouts. I knew by the end of it I'd probably have some body fat to lose, which I was okay with. I've been in that place many times, and I do this for a living. I have a whole damn book on losing body fat, so
Hmm.
it's not an issue, and I can do that. And then I remember it was like at the peak of it when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna maybe start leaning down next week after all these months of being in a calorie surplus. I tore my hamstring, and then cause like I went from being extremely active to being very inactive to the point where I wasn't even getting steps in, barely, because I
Hmm.
couldn't really walk. Where I was like, oh shit, now there was all that like those months of like being in a slight calorie surplus to being, like where I was like comfortably being at the max, and then plan's gone out the window. I've now gained even more body weight because I can't really walk. And now I'm like, and then by the end of it, and by the time I was like ready to start being active again, and I felt like my hamstring was in a decent enough place to, start exercising it. Okay, I was definitely more like just you could say overweight, and I was comfortable feeling. And I was like, yeah, all right, 2026, I'm just no, 2025, not there yet. 2025, I'm just gonna have to be in a calorie deficit for much longer than I initially planned to be. And um and I've been in a calorie deficit pretty much since the beginning of January. And I've probably lost about I don't know, 7.5 kg since then. But there's been many times where I'm like, you know what? It's a good, and this is exactly where I was going with this all. It's like this is a really good thing that I gave myself this much time because my goal was to be leaner by the summer. And some people would think like 7 months, like why do you need 7 months? That's such a long time. But then I went abroad to Morocco. I had guests visiting, and so far I've had three guests this year, and every time they're with me, they're here for like 5 or 6 days, and I want to enjoy my time with them. That's not to say I still can't be in a deficit when I'm with them, but I'm more relaxed because they're
Hmm.
visiting from me from the UK or the US or Japan, and I want to show them good food at good Portuguese restaurants, especially when it's their first time here. I want to eat out with them. So it's unlikely, and I kind of just use those weeks as like just flexible weeks, and then I might go and I visit my grandparents every month for a few days, so then there's that as well. And I'm just like, you know what, good thing that yeah, I did give myself more than enough time that I felt like I needed, because number one, that was just the experience talking, and number two, damn, did I need it, because I've got another friend visiting next month for like a week from Japan, and I know again I'm just going to stop. In the last few days it was Easter as well, so I wasn't in a deficit. So yeah, but what I do have to ensure is that every time outside of those festive periods or when friends are coming to visit, I need to ensure I stay consistent. And I've given myself long enough to where I know I'm going to see results with that. So um yeah, I just thought I'd add a long story to
Yeah,
to the
no, no,
point you were
agreed.
making.
I think it's a worthwhile thing to share because I think one of the things that people stumble on a lot is waiting for like the perfect time or the right time where they're gonna have 6 months in a row to like really kind of like lock things in, and the chances are that's just not going to happen. There's always going to be some stuff. Some of it will be foreseeable, like holidays and birthdays and work events and stuff like that, and some of it won't be. Where it's like you tear your hamstring, and that's a tough one. But it's random work dinners, or a friend comes into town, or your significant other wants to go for dinner. Like there's just gonna be stuff that's going to come up that's going to make it harder than it needs to be to kind of stay on track. And so the way that I kind of can frame this is that you should like try really hard at your fitness when things are good, because you never know when things are going to be not easy to keep on track. So even if it's only like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's like, yeah, let's just lock in and get this done. Like make sure your training is dialed, make sure you're hitting the gym hard, make sure you're on point with your nutrition. There's no reason for you to be going off plan right now, because something is inevitably going to happen that is going to knock you off plan. And if you are waiting, and so for a month you're kind of like just only half kind of half trying, and then something happens for a month that kind of knocks you off, and now you've wasted 2 months. Instead, you could have like been on point for a month, been kind of half half for the next month, and you'll still be net ahead of where you were before. You might make less progress in that second month, but you're not going to go backwards. And so it's trying not to take backward steps is really the big point of it. I think another thing to talk about, and this is not often talked about and always a little bit of a tricky thing, is that when you become more experienced, it's also okay to be more aggressive with your fat loss phases. And that doesn't mean starve yourself. It means that, I mean, effectively, all diets are starving yourself to some degree, but it means you can just be more aggressive with the deficit and more aggressive with the increase in training. The caveat is that you have to understand that that is a short term thing. It's not going to last for a long time. You can't be in like 1,000 calorie deficit for 3 months in a row and be getting 27,000 steps every single day for 3 months in a row. Like that's not going to happen. But could you do it for 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks and like really drive a fat loss in that 4 weeks instead of the standard 1 pound per week or half a kilo per week? Can you double that? Can you go 2 pounds a week or a kilo lost a week? Yeah, you probably could, but you have to understand that there's going to be an end time to that. But if you know that, like, okay, I've got 3 weeks of like locked in time, I can really hammer this home, and then kind of go into a little bit more of an easy deficit or just back up to maintenance after 3 weeks, then that's an okay strategy too, and that's something that I'll employ with myself and a handful of clients, not many clients, but a few clients who are like a little bit more experienced or who have that kind of that mindset a little bit more, and they genuinely understand. They're like, look, we're going to do this, but this is not the forever strategy. This is a very short term strategy, and it also only works if you're 100% in. If you're going to be extreme and you're only going to be like 75% consistent, it's not working and it's just spinning your wheels and making it harder than it needs to be. If you're going to be like really aggressive, you need to be like 99% consistent. And that's the missing piece there.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned this because, and not to mention it again intentionally, but this was a part of like aggressive fat loss phases was a part of my
Hmm.
book that I remember I included as well. And I was on the fence about initially including it, but then I was like, you know what? No, it's a very valid approach, but I had to really emphasize that this is not forever. You're not a special butterfly. You're not going to be able to, just keep going with it more than most
Hmm.
people. Like you're not an exception. Do this maybe for 3, 4 weeks maximum, and then get back into something just a lot more moderate, more of a slight calorie deficit. And at the end of the day, you're still going to make fat loss progress because after all, you're still in a deficit. Um, I think aggressive fat loss phases, like you said, they can really have a time and place, maybe like shortly before the summer or like maybe shortly before a wedding or maybe just like a random 30 days within maybe the calendar year in which you have been on a fat loss journey, but you want to speed things up for whatever reason. And maybe you want some more motivation, so you want to see the scale move a bit more, or maybe you are feeling motivated, so you are ready for, this just like next phase of borderline 100% consistency, which is what I emphasize as well. Like you need to be consistent for aggressive fat loss phases to work. There's no use trying telling yourself, okay, I'm going to aggressively try and lose body fat for the next month, and then you're inconsistent for 2.5 weeks within that month, because then you're just in a cycle, which I feel like I'm sure you've seen it often. I definitely have, where someone's in an aggressive fat loss phase for a week. And then the next week, I don't know, X, Y, and Z happens. They gain a bit of weight, then they go back into that aggressive fat loss phase, or like try go back to trying to be aggressive again. And then they're in the cycle of the two for every few days, and like they're just spinning their wheels. But yeah, I really am a fan of aggressive fat loss phases, and I'm happy I included that in my book because I would say just a couple of years ago, it would have been something I was just like, no, again, like just no, because I don't feel like at the time I knew enough. I was just like, I heard aggressive, probably not. But I think now, as I've gotten more experience as a coach, I'm definitely a fan, and I do think they have a time and place, for example, like in the situations you mentioned.
For sure. I mean, everything's got a time and place. It just has to be prefaced with the right expectations. And I think that's the problem with some of the aggressive diets is that people's reality don't match their expectations. And so, to your example about being consistent, certain percentage of the time, if you were or you set out to do this aggressive fat loss phase for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, 6 weeks is pushing it, but let's say 4 weeks. Um, and you're only really on point for 2 of the weeks, like your perception of your effort will still be very high over that 4 weeks, except your results won't match the perception of your effort. And that's where people get upset and disconnected. If I'm trying really, really hard and I feel like I'm pushing it and I'm doing as much as I can, I'm dieting as hard as I can, I'm doing all the things and I feel like I am, but I'm not getting the results that I should be, I've only lost 2 pounds, then that's going to feel like crap. And that's where people get discouraged. And then it's like, oh, this dieting thing doesn't work. Calorie deficits don't work for me, blah, blah, blah. Whereas if all you did was set out to lose 2 pounds over that month and you achieved that, then you would feel happy. So it's not the result that's the problem. It's the expected result compared to what actually the reality of the result. And so the only way to marry that is to match your actions to the thing that is required to happen. If you want to lose a significant amount of weight in a month, you want to lose 10 pounds in a month, that's great. You need to be dialed in. And if you do the work to make that happen, then it will happen. That's one of the great things about fitness is very merit based. Like things don't happen for the most part, like a very low percentage of them, but things don't happen by accident, right? Calorie deficits don't happen by accident. Weight loss doesn't happen by accident. You don't get lucky and lose weight. These things don't happen. You either did the things that were required to be done or you didn't, and then the results show for themselves. So if you can match your actions to the result that you want and your expectations to the reality, then you'll be way more content with it. Because I'm sure you've seen clients as well that like they have an objectively like a good result. Like they lose 4 pounds in a month, 2 kilos in a month, and they're upset about it. And it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? It's like, well, I thought I was going to lose 7 kilos. It's like, okay, but if we only set out to lose 4 kilos, which by the way is a great rate of fat loss, or whatever, I'm mixing up pounds and kilos now. I'm mixing up my numbers, but if you only set out to lose 2 kilos and you achieve that goal, then you'd feel good. You only feel bad because you set a goal that was too high and you didn't do the things that were required to get that. So that's where the disconnect is. You just got to match your expectations to reality.
Yeah, it's funny you say that just because just the other day I was having a conversation with a one-to-one online fitness member, and he was down like it was something fast. It was like 2 point, it was like 2.5 kg in 3 weeks, so almost 1 kg a week.
Yeah.
Um, like you just get through, and he had been in a deficit for a while, but I guess sometimes like we didn't change anything. You just sometimes, um, he just was going through a faster phase, and he was um. like I can't remember it exactly word for word 'cause, this was like a month ago this chat and he was like is this a good amount of like weight loss like because it's I know it's not the fastest in the world like it's something that's like I feel like it's okay like I'm not upset with myself like I do think it could have been a bit faster but I just want to confirm this is okay and I was like, whoa, like this is fast. Like this is not like maybe this is kind of slow. Like, can we like push it a bit more? Like, no, no, this is fast. We don't want to go any faster because it's not like he had a
Right.
lot of weight to lose as well. Had he maybe been very overweight, the conversation could have been kind of different, but no, like I was like, bro, any faster? I would say we could do a calorie increase instead, and
Yeah.
you'd probably still lose body fat. So yeah, it was quite interesting. Even with rapid fat loss, like expectations sometimes still need to be aligned.
Yeah, that's the thing too with a lot of the just media headlines about rapid fat loss. You'll see an ad or something for a program where Susie lost 27 pounds in a month, and it's like, okay, like is that possible? Like sure it's possible if Susie was very overweight, had a lot of weight to lose, there were some injuries involved, there were some health issues possibly involved, a ton of inflammation, like all of these different factors. If you're like if you're only 27 pounds overweight, and that's a very hard thing to define, but if you're only 27 pounds overweight, the chances you lose all 27 pounds in 1 month is slim to none. If you are 150 pounds overweight, you could lose 27 pounds in a month in the first month, right? That rate might not sustain, but it could happen. And so you have to like compare apples to apples when you're comparing your progress to the progress that you think might happen, right? Again, if you're 30 pounds overweight and that's if you lose 30 pounds, you're going to be like 8% body fat and you're going to be shredded. That's not going to happen in a month. That's gonna that's gonna take some time. So you've got to compare your rate of progress to someone in a similar position to you, their rate of progress as well, and that's the only way to make it fair. Otherwise, you run into the issue like you're saying, where it's like, oh, I don't know if this is like good enough. It's like, well, no, it's very good. It's very good. It's just you got to compare it fairly.
Yeah, yeah. And I think where a lot of people go wrong with back to like the aggressive fat loss phases part specifically where we were speaking about, I think, and I kind of touched upon this earlier, but it's where I think they see really good results for the first 3 weeks, and then they just tell themselves, you know, I'm going to keep going with this indefinitely.
Hmm.
And then predictably they crash and then they give up because they're like, yeah, this calorie deficit thing is too much. I can't do it. Yeah, I'm just gonna forever struggle. Whereas like, no, you just, really overshot. And like I said, you're, people like to think they're the exception when it comes to a lot of rules, and but they're not. Like,
Yeah.
I still
Statistically,
like,
statistically speaking, you're more likely to be the average than the exception.
yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, that's another really common mistake I see. And then just people, give up, and before they know it, they're back at square one and they're just going in a cycle of that. So, yeah, I think it's genuinely, and I want to say this again. I know I said it earlier, but it's to really hammer home that point that the aggressive fat loss phases really need to be, I think, just well thought out. They're not just something you keep doing. And I think this could bring up a good question. Like, if someone was, curious about doing an aggressive fat loss phase, and I guess we could speak about this, like, how would they go about it? Like, where would they start? What would they do? What would be involved?
The first thing I think is to clearly define what you are trying to achieve. And then we have to match that to reality. Again, if you're trying to lose 27 pounds in a month, that's probably not going to happen. But can we do like 8 to 10 pounds in a month? Yeah, yeah, we could probably do that. I mean, given your current stats and whatever. So clearly define the outcome or the intended outcome. And two is, are you sure that you are going to be able to be 95% plus compliant to this? If not, then we cannot do this because it's just not going to work. You're going to be spinning your wheels for all the things that we mentioned previously. So once you have those two things ironed out, then you just make your plan. And I think you start your plan by the amount of time that you're going to be able to commit to this. Like you start with the end in mind, to be a little cliche, but you have to have an end date, and that we've spoken about that as being an important thing as well. This is not a perpetual diet that you're going to follow. You're going to do it for 3-4 weeks, and then you're going to have a diet break where you come back up to maintenance or change the plan, increase your calories in some sense. So you have an end date, and then you can just map out those 3 or 4 weeks pretty easily. How much are you going to train? How many steps a day are you going to get? What's your sleep schedule like roughly going to be? It's hard to plan that out perfectly, but more or less. And how much of a deficit can you possibly handle? Like get your protein up over 1 gram per pound of body weight, and then keep your carbs and fats at like basically like as low as you can tolerate with your hunger, and not zero each of them. You can't just be eating straight straight cans of tuna and protein powder, but keep your fats and carbs pretty low, because the lower you can kind of keep them, the faster the lower your calories are going to be. That doesn't mean eat 1,000 calories only, but keep them reasonably low. I'd say like, you know, again, depends on your weight, but like no less than kind of like 50 grams of fat a day, no less than that, but you can definitely be more than that. Carbs, in theory, you could go like close to zero, although I'm not a fan of that. That would certainly speed things up a little bit. But like I'd say like 50 to 100 grams at least, and mostly from fruits. Like you're not going to be having pasta during this fat loss phase. You're not going to be having cookies, and you're not going to be having those things. And that's okay. This is part of the trade off that you need to make. And if you're not willing to do that, then that's okay, because you don't have to do this, right? So that's the thing to understand with this. I'm not saying that you can't lose weight without eating pasta and cookies and stuff like that. I'm just saying if you want things to go faster, you probably are not going to be able to fit those things into your calories very easily. So you establish that deficit, and then you kind of have to work with the parameters of your life and your lifestyle, like grocery shopping. How am I going to cook? How am I going to meal prep? How am I going to do these things? And this is kind of the first step, I think, or these are the first steps to setting this up. But really, it's about how much are you willing and able to do this, and do you realize how difficult this is going to be? You're going to be hungry, you're going to be a little bit cranky, your training maybe is not going to be that amazing, and that's all okay. You just kind of have to accept that and deal with it. And if you're not okay with that, then that's okay too. We just have to make a new plan, and it's not going to be as aggressive.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned can clearly establish that you're going to be able to stick with this for the next 3 to 5 weeks, because I think a lot of people like the idea of the type of progress you can make in a more aggressive like calorie deficit phase. And then you dig deeper and they're like, oh, but on week 3, I'm going on holiday for 5 days. And it's like, okay, well, that's not going to work then because it kind of, we need like a clear amount of, time. Like we can't have distractions. Like you basically
Yeah.
need to be like in a good solid routine with things that aren't going to be forcing you to completely be off plan, for lack of a better word, over those next few weeks. Like, are you going to be in routine? You're not going on holiday. You're not going to like have a bunch of events coming up, are you? Because then, if you're not, then yeah, we can do this. If you are, then the thought is nice, but realistically, you're not going to be able to stick to it. So yeah, I
Right.
think that's very important. What would you say to someone? So they're like, okay, I need to eat aggressively less calories. It's hard to give specifics, like you were saying, in regard to like fats, carbs. To be honest, you might not even really need to, yeah, track fats and carbs, like calories, depending on the person, and protein, like if it's high enough, can
Yeah.
still do the job. Um, but I know, like, it's tough to give specifics without knowing exactly more context of the person. But like generally speaking, so we've heard that. What would you say if someone's like, okay, but what about like steps and what about cardio? Do I need to do cardio? What do you think there?
Steps, I would say, you get them as high as you can, as much time as you can manage, as high as you can. And I would all honestly say that like if you can't get 10,000 steps in a day because of time, because of whatever, then you probably can't be. You probably shouldn't be doing this unless there's some weird injury. I want to say never because there's always like a what if that makes sense. But for the most part, if you can't dedicate enough time or enough energy or enough whatever to be getting at least 10,000 steps a day, and 10,000 just as a proxy, not as a magic number, but just as a proxy for about an hour and a half of walking, uh, then you probably will have a very hard time committing to this entire aggressive phase. So that will be a sign for me to be like, we need to rethink whether this is the right decision or not. But I'd say minimum 10,000 and upper limit is there's no upper limit, like as much as you can. Now, if you're hurting your feet, I don't mean to get 50,000 steps a day, but no one's getting 50,000 steps a day every single day. Um, so at least 10,000 minimum. Um, Cardio would be part of someone's training plan, and I mean your steps are kind of covering that anyways. So here's the thing, like I don't think cardio is really like it shouldn't be the thing that's used to drive fat loss. Like your general steps and your activity can be used to help with that, but cardio should be part of your training because cardio is good for your heart and good for your performance and good for your body, and like it has a side effect of burning calories, but like so does everything else. So it doesn't really like improve anything that much other than that you can do more cardio than you can lifting weights. So people would have cardio in their plan because they would have cardio in their plan for their fitness, as well as they would have lifting, as well as they would have mobility. But I wouldn't necessarily increase someone's specific, like go to the gym and run on the treadmill. I would just increase their like, hey, let's just get more steps. Like, should be doing your zone two. Probably get someone doing some sprints or something at least once a week, whether that's on a bike or running or on a rower or some implement. Um, but again, that's for their heart and for their cardiovascular system and for their fitness performance, rather than oh let's do this to drive up the to burn a bunch of calories. I think that that's a poor use of cardio and a bad way to frame it as well.
Yeah, and I think I agree with everything you've said in regard to cardio. Steps, yeah, generally speaking, 10K can be quite a good goal. Um, yeah, and I agree as well. If you're like, if you've got a lot of body fat to lose, then you could probably still do like 6 or 7K and maybe still see rapid fat loss. But yeah,
For
that's why
sure.
we're generally speaking here, because without specific details on a person, it's hard to give specifics. But yeah, generally speaking, I agree with everything you've said. Um, have you ever done 50K steps in a day?
No, I don't think so. Not that
No.
I tracked anyways. I think the most that I ever tracked was probably close to 30, and that was on vacation. And there was a lot of hiking and there was a lot of walking through forests and walking different places and but it was probably around 30. But I mean 50K is like that's a
Yeah,
lot. I
that's
don't think so.
I remember I think it did take me back, and I'm gonna go on a random story here just because I
Yeah.
like to go on tangents sometimes. Like, I remember when I was doing my exchange year in the US, for the first time ever, I met so many people who were just like taking Adderall for their ADHD or ADD. Like, I never see that in Europe. But in the US, like it felt like everyone was taking that. Like everyone and their dog was on Adderall, and I was like, it's for my ADD. I was like, everyone's got fucking ADD here, but okay. Um, and I remember one time I'd never tried it, and one of my friends were like, "Why don't you just try some?" And I was like, I was in college, 21 years old. I was thinking, you know what? At first, I was quite like, "Nah, I'm good," and then I was around them enough where I was like, "Fuck it, I'll try one." Um, I remember that I felt like I had a normal day. Like I really did feel the effects of taking the one time I took Adderall. Like I remember I like felt really buzzed. Um, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like I had like the most mammoth hit of caffeine ever, but like times 10. And then I remember like I looked down at my fitness tracker at the end of the day, and I had done like 45,000 steps, but I don't know how the fuck I had done 45,000 steps compared to my average, which was like 10 to 12,000, because that day I didn't feel like I had done anything different. So that's the one day where yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but like that it just took me right back when you told me that. I was like, that's that yeah, that was a nuts day.
Yeah, no, that's funny. I mean, it's definitely possible, I guess, to get
Yeah,
that. It's
it's
just I don't think
unlikely.
it's just unlikely and not necessary. Like when I say no upper
I don't
limit,
think
I
I
mean
ever
like
did that again.
yeah, exactly. I mean like within reason. You know what I mean? Like if I
Mm.
say if it's the same as saying like how much water should you drink in a day? Well, at least this, but the upper limit is basically nothing. Like that's technically incorrect. Like there is an amount of water that you could drink that would kill you. Like everything is poisonous at a certain dose. But are you going to drink enough water to actually harm yourself? Like that's the chances of that are so I don't even know what the there I don't know the number, but there's some upper limit of it. It does exist. I just don't know what it is, and like you're not going to hit it. You're not going to drink like 37 gallons of water in a day. Like that's just not going to like unless you're trying to overdo it, you're not going to do it. So if you drank 5 liters of water in a day, would that be bad? No, I don't think so. Would you need to drink 5 liters in a day? Like probably not, but like you could and it would be fine, right? So that's what I mean. Like at least 10,000, and it's more of like a commitment thing. Like if you can commit to this, then good. Again, except for the people who are like very overweight, who have certain injuries, stuff like that. Then there's a reason for an aggressive fat loss phase is a little bit different for someone like that. Whereas like we can just manipulate the food, and we this is another good point that I wanted to make actually is that part this and this ties into like why you need to be so consistent, and it's just because the margin for error is lower. So if you're 400 pounds, you can still get away with eating a lot of calories and be in a gigantic calorie deficit because you have so much fat to lose, right? If you are, again, 30 pounds overweight, you don't have as big of a window of potential for fat loss as that person who's 400 pounds. So if you're trying to be in an aggressive phase where you're going to be in a 800 to 1,000 calorie deficit a day, well, you have to still eat enough protein. You still have to eat enough to survive and do your job and do stuff. So you can't eat nothing, but you don't have as much room to like go over that amount of deficit. If you set your calories at 1,500, well, that's a lot harder to stay within. And if you want to stay at that 2 pounds per week ish rate of fat loss, then you can't go too much over that 1,500. But if you give yourself 2,000, well, that's a lot more wiggle room. And if you're trying to lose, half a pound to a pound a week, well, if you go over, you get 2,100, 2,200 calories one day. Like that's not making or breaking anything. You can offset that, and it'll be fine. You'll still hit your rate. You'll still be good. So the potential is lower, and that's why you have to be like a little bit more dialed, right? And so same with the steps for someone who's very overweight. It's like you just have more potential, so you can kind of like get away with being a little bit less perfect. But if you're closer to that end goal, you have to be more and more close to perfect or more compliant in order to still get the sustained results. And that's why it becomes more difficult as you lose weight as well. And that's why aggressive fat loss phases done well require a large amount of compliance if you want to get the results that you want and feel happy by doing them and not be disappointed when you only lost 8 pounds in a month when your goal was to lose 10 pounds kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I think that was brilliantly said. A good context as well. Um, yeah, and I agree. I don't really even have anything to add to that. I want to be really mindful of your time as well. So Yeah. Maybe was there anything in this podcast episode that we discussed that maybe you would like to expand on some more, or we kind of just glossed over and you would have liked to have dug deeper into it, or anything else like we didn't mention at all that you would like to say?
Um, I don't think so. I think I mean I didn't expect that we're going to talk about like aggressive fat loss as much,
Neither
but
did
kind of
I. I didn't have any
fitting
plan.
with yeah, fitting with time coming up to summer like you mentioned. I think it's just really important to note that like hey, these things are possible. But it's not the ideal way to go about things. Like there's a time and a place for everything. But if like every 3 months you find yourself in an aggressive fat loss phase to lose the 10 pounds that you just put back on last month after the last phase, like you're doing it wrong. And so the only thing that I want to add to this is that you also have to pay attention to no, I'll add two things. That let me say the second one first. Is that a 3 week aggressive fat loss phase doesn't mean that that's all the weight that you're going to lose for forever. You might go hard for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, lose 10 pounds, take a week or two or three, diet break, and then go back on it again. You might lose 10 pounds, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, however many times you need to lose it. But the thing is that you don't gain the weight back in that diet break, right? You're not continually losing the same 10 pounds. It's like you go down 10, stay maintenance, then go down another 10, maintenance, down another 10, stay maintenance, and go kind of go like that. Um, and so that brings me to the second point, which is that you need to have, and this isn't not just aggressive diets, but in all diets, a plan for after the plan, like the diet after the diet, right? Because a calorie deficit is not meant to last for forever. You shouldn't be perpetually losing weight for the rest of eternity. And you should eventually get to some point of maintenance where you're like, oh, I'm good here. And I'm just going to, this is my body composition. I'm healthy. I'm happy with the way that I look. And I'm just going to stay here. And that's your status quo for the rest of your life, essentially. Things will change, but like you effectively want to stay there. So you have to have a plan for after the plan, and it's effectively just increasing your calories back up, keeping your protein the same, and keeping your training high, and focusing on performance and these kind of things. But you have to at least pre-think about this so that you don't end your diet and you're like, oh, now what? I'll just go back to what I was doing before, eating chocolate cake and McDonald's, and then you're shocked at why the diet didn't work for you when the diet worked pretty damn well. It's just that you didn't have a plan for after, and that's why you put the weight back on. So just to iterate that for sure, that you need to have a plan for what the diet after the diet is going to be like.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like they just think about the calorie deficit or their goal, and then they don't put any thought towards how they're going to come out with that, out of that, which is equally as important, maybe more so to
Maybe
keep the
more so,
results that you actually made.
dude. I actually don't even think like the world, America, the world doesn't have like we don't have a weight loss problem. Like we know how to lose weight. We're actually very effective at losing weight via pills, via stupid diets, via sensible diets, via like all the things. Like you go on like carnivore, vegan, starve yourself, intermittent fasting, like whatever. Pick whatever diet you want. Like they will make you lose weight. They work. We just have a major problem with sustaining weight loss and not continually increasing slowly or quickly over time. That's the actual difficulty that we have on a large scale because anyone can lose weight. Anyone can like just starve themselves for a month, follow any diet from any book, any magazine, anything online, and lose weight. Like that's not the hard part. The hard part is like, well, what do you do after that actually makes this stick and last for the rest of your life? So I'd argue that yes, pick something that makes sense for you, whether it's aggressive or a little bit slower or whatever, but you have to pay even more attention to what happens after the diet. And this is where like coaching comes more in play, and just more long term thinking rather than setting up how to make yourself eat less. Like that's kind of the easy part. The hard part is what you do after that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah, many people can lose. I think I used to tweet about that sometimes. I haven't in a long time. But yeah, the hard part isn't necessarily losing the weight because people do that all the time. It's keeping what you've lost, which
Hmm.
I think a lot of people struggle with, which just shows that, yeah, that is the most important part. And yeah, well, it also highlights when you do stupid shit to try and lose the body weight, it's not going to stick. So let's not do that again. Um, was there the sec you mentioned you wanted to say two things. So you mentioned the second and then you
Oh,
wanted
those
to
those are those are the two
Oh,
things. Yeah,
okay.
just
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We're
Okay.
good.
So
Yeah, that was it. I think I'm sure there's more. I mean, we could talk about this for
Oh,
hours,
we
I'm
could talk
sure,
about that. I could,
going to
yeah,
tons of different tangents and all the things,
yeah,
but I think this is good digestible information here. So,
yeah. So where can did you want to mention anything else?
uh, no, not nothing
No.
else related to this topic. I think we're good. But
No.
yeah,
Okay, so where can people find you? And I'll link everything in the show notes so people can.
everything is just my name at Daniel Yoris, and my last name is Yores, and Twitter or X, Instagram, my podcast, same, the Daniel Yoris podcast, and YouTube and all the places. But search my name and you'll find it.
Yeah. For which one would you say, like, which short form social media platform do you use the most right now? Or is your
Oh,
favorite?
Twitter is definitely my favorite. X is definitely
Twitter.
my
Okay.
favorite. Yeah,
Why is
but
that?
I don't know. I'm just so sick of Instagram. I don't know.
What
This
about
is maybe
threads?
I like stirring shit up on threads. I'll
I know you do.
fucking battle
I
with
get
people
that
on
vibe
threads.
that you do.
But I think threads is and maybe it's because I get slightly more traction on there. I don't know, but like not a lot. But I actually think, and I don't know what it is. I think threads is a terrible platform. I
Oh,
think there
really?
I just think it's like one mechanically like the way to have a conversation with people in the comments. It just the layout isn't that good compared to X, where you could have like more back and forth and include more people, and it's like easier to follow. When multiple people are chiming in on a common thread, it gets lost and confusing, and you can't follow who said what and all that stuff. Um, that and then I don't know. There's just so much like people say things that don't make any sense, don't read what you wrote, and then they're like, "Oh, well, what about this?" And it's like, "Yeah, maybe, but that's not what I said." So like, that's
Mm.
not what I talked about. I don't know. And there just seems to be a lot of negativity on there, which I don't, and maybe it's because I don't have a big enough following on X to see it. But I think that X is just like it seems to me that like the general audience is like just slightly more educated, and you can say something that's like pretty routine, and people are like, yeah, that's yes, that's normal. Like not using the barbell pad to do back squats. Like post that on X and be like, yeah, well, obviously, and you post it on Threads, and there's 500 people telling you
I
why you're
saw
an
that
idiot.
post
Like
of yours.
yeah, and I'm like, dude, this is not even like this is the most run of the mill, like not original, not controversial post. Like how are this many people? First of all, how are this many people responding to this? And responding against it. And second, why are people so angry and care so much about this? Like this is not that big a deal. So I don't know. It's very interesting of a platform to me. So I like
Mhm.
X the most. I'd love to keep like growing on there a little bit more. So if you're looking for one place to follow me, follow on X or the podcast really is the best place.
I agree with you about threads. I feel like people get worked up for things that just don't need to be worked up about, but I still prefer it to X. I dislike threads more, but just for different reasons. I feel like
Mm.
the algorithm is just a bit shit. Whereas I just feel like the algorithm is so politically charged and like not in a way where it's like coming out even with at least this is what I see. I know everyone's algorithm is different. And the thing is, I put not interested all the time. I've muted like 50 words and it's still getting the same shit. Where it's just like stupid extreme takes on both the right and the left and I'm just like, yeah, this platform is a shit show. So I just came off it. Whereas I feel Threads, I think it's better at showing me what I'm genuinely interested in. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I just find that. But um, I also find the organic reach on Threads is so much better, which I know you'd agree with me on,
That for
and I
sure.
quite
Yeah.
like that. And it's been really good for my email list. So that kind of, I guess, there's a positive feedback loop there. And whereas X, I even tried the premium and I still find that the organic reach isn't anywhere near as good. Yeah, I thought I'd try premium just because it was on sale and it was actually quite a good price. It was like less than €5 a month. So I was like, yeah, I'll do this. If I pay for the year. So I was like, I'll do this because if I get one sign up in a month, I've paid off the entire year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far I can't say I've noticed anything different on it. And that's with consistency in posting. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I'll tag you, I'll link your X, I'll link your Instagram, I'll link your podcast all in the show notes of this podcast episode. Otherwise, yeah, thank you so much
Yeah.
for
Appreciate you. Thanks for
coming
having
on,
me again.
Daniel.
Always always a pleasure. Always a pleasure chatting. But thank you, man.